Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome back to Bike News, this time for the month of June 2024. So welcome back to the channel, folks. Who can believe it, June has gone already. We've passed the longest day, the nights are starting to draw in, and summer's barely emerged yet. We have had a few nice days, but as I record this on Saturday morning, it's absolutely tipping it down outside. Anyway, let's not whinge too much. Let's get on with the bike news, shall we? All right, first story that I've picked out from MCN in the last month is this. Heavyweight boxer. BMW revealed crazy 2-litre R20 roadster concept packing oversized proportions. What do you make of this bike then, folks? It's very much like a bigger version of the R18. Do you remember that? It's a bike that I rode a couple of years ago when it came out. It had some redeeming factors. I kind of liked the engineering side of it. It looked impressive, but as a ride, it wasn't for me. It was a little bit too thumpy for my liking, a bit too much kind of pretend Harley-Davidson. And I think I said in my review, if you're going to go for a bike like this, why would you have this rather than the real thing? By which I mean a Harley or an Indian, or even a push, a Triumph. But they don't really appeal to me, these sort of cruiser bikes from BMW. I'm not sure the R18 sold that well, so I'm surprised that they're continuing down this route. Maybe they sell really well in the US, I don't know, but to be really interested to hear what you think about this. But anyway, before I whinge too much about it, let's just read what MCN have said. BMW have whisked the covers off an all-new R20 concept, suggesting a new roadster could be on the way soon. As if the 1.8 litre engine powering the R18 wasn't big enough, the new concept packs an even meatier 2000cc power plant. Taking care of suspension duties is a suite of fully adjustable Öhlins goodness at both ends. Stopping is carried out courtesy of a twin 6-pot caliper, ISR setup at the front. Don't know what that means actually, ISR, maybe that's the manufacturer. And a single 4-pot caliper at the back. Striking as the concept is, the R20 is unlikely to make it to production in its current form, although a 2-litre variant looks like it could be on the cards. So, okay, maybe this particular bike isn't coming, but maybe the R18 is going to get a bigger engine, as if it needed one. Anyway, yeah, fascinating to hear your thoughts on that below. I don't actually know how they've sold. I don't think I've ever seen one on the road. And I think I've heard rumours they didn't sell too well. But anyway, I'm not entirely sure that bike's for me, but I appreciate it's for some people. Okay, next up, fully hyped up. Just how does Ducati's new Hypermotard 698 Mono stack up against KTM's hyper-focused 690 SMC R? Now, supermoto type bikes aren't something that I'm particularly into. I don't know why. It might just be because I've not really ridden them, and it's kind of a genre that's passed me by. Now, my mate John of Land Chops Rides, he absolutely loves a supermoto, so maybe I'm missing out here. So I am going to get in touch with Ducati and see if I can borrow the new Hypermotard 698 Mono, because it does look cool, and see if I am actually missing out on something here that really could be right up my street, because I'm a road rider, I like a bit of fun, I like lightweight bikes. This could be actually something that really works for me, and it certainly appeals to me on the looks front. Ducatis are always a bit special, aren't they? The fit and finish on them, just the fact that they're Italian, I don't know, there's something about them. So maybe this is one for me, but I definitely need to borrow one and find out. Well, let's see what MCN are saying. Look up the word fun in a dictionary, and there really should be a big fat picture of a supermoto staring back at you. I like that. So they've pitched, as I say, the Ducati against the KTM. Let's see what their verdict was. It says here, the Ducati feels more refined in nearly every way. The engine is far smoother, the chassis a little more road bike-esque in its setup, and it feels a little more nimble. Like the sound of that. For experienced supermoto enthusiasts, the KTM is still the most authentic and the most hardcore package that money can buy. But for everyone else, the new 690 Hypermotard Mono offers a neater package that's not only easy to ride and manage than the KTM, but will bring your riding and confidence on that bit quicker as well. So I like the sound of that. They've given both bikes 4 stars out of 5. Always annoys me a bit that they only have 5 stars to choose from, because they never really differentiate between bikes. If they score them the same, how do we know, you know? But anyway, they in the words at least, they rate the Ducati higher than the KTM. I must admit, I do like the looks of the Ducati over the KTM, although they are ostensibly very similar shapes. There's just something about Ducatis, isn't there, in red that look great. So yeah, definitely one to get on the list to try out. All right. Final story in the first paper. I haven't actually got that many stories this bike news. For some reason, it must be the time of year, bit thin on news that appeals to me in the papers over the last month. But anyway, we'll crack on. So this one, fully loaded and set for adventure. Harley-Davidson CVO Pan America ticks all the option boxes for range-topping action. So basically, Harley-Davidson have come out with the top-of-the-range version of their Pan America adventure bike. Again, a bike that I think hasn't sold that well. I think there's been a lot of offers here in the UK, certainly, at really good prices. I think, the basic bike came in at something like 16, 17 grand originally, and there have been some offers with some, you know, good chunks of money off. And I have to say, when I rode this bike, it really rode lovely. The looks of it, very divisive, I agree, but then compared to the new GS 1300, maybe it's not that bad after all. So it is kind of growing on me. But anyway, let's see what it says here. So this show-stopping CVO version has been introduced to mark a quarter century of the company's custom vehicle operations unit, hence CVO. And they've thrown all but the kitchen sink at it for a fully loaded adventure tourer. It's got it goes full globetrotter with an impressive 120 litres of load lugging ability. It's got 150 brake horsepower and 94 foot-pound of torque on tap. The 1250cc Revolution Max power plant is never short on punch. Yeah, I didn't find it slow when I rode it. As standard, you get adaptive ride height technology. Now this is the thing, as standard, you get that lowering technology so that when you come to a stop, the bike gets lower. I never fooled it when I rode it. I didn't ride the CVO version, but the standard version. And it just worked really well. It's exactly the same as that on the new GS 1300. But Harley were there first. You know, who knew that there would be groundbreakers in adventure bikes? It says here, the adaptive ride height technology not only lowers the bike at standstill, but maintains a consistent sag setting at speed to keep the big Harley reassuringly proposed. The CVO Pan Am comes with a new seat that provides a firm base with just enough give to support your posterior for a full day's ride without any distress. And the verdict from Justin Hazeldine is pricey but good value at £23,495 for this CVO version. So yeah, it is expensive, this one. It's £7,500 more than the standard model, but tot up the cost of all the extras and it starts to look like decent value. The luggage alone is worth over £2,300. Then there's the shifter, protection, parts, trick suspension, spoke wheels and paint job, to name but a few. So he thinks it's sort of worth the extra money. I think save the £7,500 and go for the standard model. It is actually a lovely bike if you can get past the looks. Okay, one paper down, just two stories in this one. Let's see what we've got here. Scramblers on back burner. Oh yeah, this is kind of a farewell to the Ducati 1100 Scrambler. Now the Scramblers have been sort of a separate brand for Ducati. Remember they brought out the 400 first and then an 1100 big brother. I was never a huge fan of the 400s. They just felt a bit toy-like to me, although I need to revisit them. I haven't ridden one for years and years, literally since they came out. But I did do a tour once in Tuscany on the 1100 and I have to say I really like the bike. So a bit sad to hear that this is going. Maybe it hasn't been a big seller for them. It says here, with the introduction of new Euro 5 Plus emission standards for 2025, the Scrambler 1100 will be struck from the model lineup at the end of the year. It should be noted that the 1100 has been somewhat of an outlier in the Scrambler family for a while now, not showing the same success as its smaller siblings, which surprises me. Ducati have confirmed that the 803cc range will be compliant with the new emissions regs. Sorry, what was I talking about? The original Scrambler 803cc, not 400. Don't know where I got that from. Anyway, will be compliant with the new emissions regs, which builds upon Euro 5 classification introduced in 2021. So hence, that's why the 800cc models are sticking around. Maybe we'll see the 1100 back if they can make it Euro 5 Plus compliant. I don't know. But for me, that's slightly sad news because I do like a Scrambler, and I do like a Ducati. And I thought the 1100 was a nice bike, but then if they don't sell, you know, it's business, isn't it, at the end of the day? Okay, next story in here. Sporty with a softer punch. So here we go. This is a sort of, the new sort of soft super sports bikes being compared. Some of these I've ridden, some of them I haven't. So here we've got the Suzuki GSX8-R, which I have ridden. There's a review up on my channel. Really like that bike. That is a lovely machine. The Triumph Daytona 660. I've actually got one of these. It might even be this very one. I've got a white one in the garage at the moment. So I was riding it yesterday. Reviews on that bike coming on the channel soon. And the Yamaha R7 I rode first probably about a year ago now actually. And I really like the looks of that bike in particular. And it rode beautifully as well. I haven't ridden the ZX-4RR yet, but I want to. Nor the Aprilia RS660, nor the CBR 650R from Honda. But I will get round to them. I must say, I love a sports bike, mostly because of the way they look. I just think they look amazing. But in practical terms, they're just difficult to live with, you know, the riding position and so on. Plus, of course, they're so performant these days on the road, they just don't make any sense. And that's where these sort of size bikes come into their own, because not only are they not blisteringly quick, you know, and you don't lose your license as soon as you jump on them, but also they are a bit more upright and a little bit more comfortable than the more extreme bikes. So I do think they potentially hit a sweet spot. It'll be very interesting to see how the sales go these. Now there is such a variety to choose from. There's something for everyone here, isn't there? I mean, out of this batch, I have to say, spoiler alert on the Daytona, I actually like the GSX8-R best. There's something about it that is, it feels quality, it rides nice, it's got beautiful electronics and nice TFT and so on. I'm not too keen on the stacked headlights, but other than that, from the side it looks nice. It's a lovely bike. I think best looking of the lot is probably the Aprilia, or maybe the Honda, or maybe the Yamaha. But the ones I've ridden so far, I prefer the Suzuki. Let's see what MCN have said. So this is Carl Stevens. Suzuki have it covered. He says it's Suzuki's GSX8-R that comes out on top. It's so easy to ride fast, comfortable to ride slow, and where the other bikes excel in certain areas, the Suzuki hits the sweet spot across all bases. For the roads, it truly is a sports bike at heart, mixed in with a dash of comfort. And that I agree. That is the problem, isn't it, with, as I mentioned, with sports bikes, they can be darn uncomfortable. It's the reason I got rid of my 899 Panigale, a bike that I absolutely loved and still think it's one of the best looking bikes ever made. But it was just so uncomfortable to ride, I never rode it, and you just can't, or I can't, justify having a bike in the garage that I never ever ride. This one I rode it, the GSX8-R, actually was quite comfortable. In fact, I rewatched my review recently just to try and judge how comfortable it really was, and it was pretty comfortable as sports bikes go. So yeah, that's the one for me out of that lot. Okay, paper 2 down, blimey, cracking through them this morning. Next one, mega day out for Dave. So this is nearly 50,000 joined national ride out for late hairy biker star. So this is, well, let me read what it says and then I'll tell you what I think. Thousands of bikers banded together to celebrate the life of hairy biker star Dave Myers, who passed away earlier this year following a 2-year battle with cancer. The event kicked off in London before heading 300 miles north up the country to Dave's hometown of Barrow-in-Furness. Some 46,136 riders joined the procession. Absolutely amazing. What great fun that would have been, and a fitting tribute to Dave Myers as well. Great thing to do. What I was going to say about it was, number one, is this the biggest ever ride out? Because that seems like an awful lot of riders, doesn't it? And also it's a long way, isn't it, from London to Barrow-in-Furness? So well done everybody that went along. I just wish I'd known about it. I mean, I don't know how everybody found out. It was kept very quiet. I'm obviously not looking at the right websites or whatever, because I didn't know about it. Had I known about it, I may well have gone along, but it looks like a great fun and a terrific turnout, and yeah, well done to everybody that went along on that. So yeah, and really sad news, of course, about Dave Myers. All right, next up, keep the noise down. KTM combat NIMBY culture with warnings when you're being loud. More and more authorities, both nationally and internationally, are starting to employ noise cameras to catch riders with bikes considered to be too loud. KTM look to be working on an intriguing solution that approaches noise limits rather like speed limits, giving riders the tools to monitor their own bike sound levels rather than trying to put a tighter outright restriction on the sound levels. Looks like they've got a patent as well. KTM's application is for a visual, acoustic or sensory notification to the rider when the bike passes a preset noise threshold. Most simply a warning light on the dash that gives a real-time representation of the noise level. So there's going to be some sort of indication when your bike's being really loud, so that if you go past one of these noise cameras, you can ease it off a bit. I guess that's what it's saying. Interesting. I just wondered how much of a problem is this? I mean, I'm not sure I've actually ever seen a noise camera. I did go down to, earlier this month, I went down to, where did I go? Biker place down in Sussex. What's it called? You know the one. Loomies, that's it. First time I've ever been there. Hello to everybody that I met there. Nice to meet you, by the way. I had a great ride down there on the Goldwing with Mrs. Fly. First time we've ever been. It was just a nice day for a fairly long ride out for us. And people were telling me there that you've got to be careful on the roads that approach, because there are not only speed cameras, but noise cameras too. I have to say I never saw them. Luckily I was on the Goldwing, not a noisy bike, but lots of my other bikes are quite noisy. I don't know, you know, the Kawasaki on full crack is quite a noisy bike. So I'm hoping we're not going to see too many of these noise cameras. This is certainly one way of getting around it. I guess getting in a patent early means that KTM, you know, get some licensing fees or whatever on that technology if it becomes a thing in the future. But I just wondered, how much of a problem is this? Have you seen many noise cameras around where you live? Are you aware of them? We've, you know, read about them in MCN over the last few months, haven't we? But I don't think I've yet seen many, and also I'd be interested to know, in other countries, do you have them? I think France and Switzerland might have them as well. Just be interested to know how prevalent are noise cameras. Let me know in the comments below. Either way, bad news, eh? Although I understand really loud pipes in rural areas, it's going to annoy people. I guess the trick is ride sensibly through built-up areas, and then only when you're out in the open, give it the beans. But again, for your normal non-motorcycling person, if they're sat in their back garden on a sunny summer's day, if we ever have a sunny summer's day, hearing bikes being thrashed, it's not a good thing, is it? So I'm not encouraging it by any means. All right, next up. letters. First of a couple of letters actually on this same subject, and this is from Andrew Fawcett. He says, cheese news. Could I ask readers to email Sky News and complain that not once has there been a mention of the TT while they spent 10 minutes talking about rolling a cheese down a hill? I love this. The greatest motoring event in the world, yet not a word. You would think that Michael's 26 wins would have had at least had a 2-second slot, but no. Yeah. I saw the cheese news as well. I can't remember where it is. Somewhere in probably Wensleydale or somewhere, where they roll a cheese down a hill and chase after it. Massive news coverage on not just Sky but BBC, social media, everywhere. I saw loads of pictures of that, but not a mention of the TT. In fact, I barely knew it was on. I kind of missed out a bit on TT coverage this year, which turned out to be an error, as it was such a classic. Another letter on that in a minute. All right, next up. Serious filth. We take 3 hardcore adventure offerings both on and off-road to see which machine reigns supreme. Now these are, again, middleweight, for want of a better term, adventure bikes. Yamaha Tenere 700 Extreme, KTM 890 Adventure R and the Ducati DesertX Rally. The reason why I picked this story out is I love an adventure bike, but I've never ridden any Ducati Desert X, and I don't know why. I think it's because initially I didn't like the looks of it. Something about their sort of Dakar-esque sort of semi-retro looks didn't do it for me. But as time has gone on, this has really started to grow on me. So I'm going to add this to my list of bikes to see if I can borrow from Ducati, because I think I'd like a go on that. Let's see what they reckon the best one is. In fact, here it says Desert X adds class. The most impressive of the bunch for proper off-roading mixed with roadability. Well, that accolade is reserved for Ducati's Desert X Rally. Personally, I'm not bothered about off-roading, although it's good to know it can do it. I'm never going to do it with my dodgy arms. It says here, as far as mid-sized adventure bikes go, nothing is as sure-footed and as stable as the Rally, which manages to find an extra gear in its off-road abilities without sacrificing what also makes the standard Desert X such a classy road companion. Again, you know, as we get older, or as I get older, you know, I start to realise the virtues of a lightweight bike. That's fine for me to say. Somebody who's got a GS and a Goldwing in the garage, but you know, those bikes have their purpose for sure. But there's no doubt, just for fun and ease of use, lighter bikes are best, aren't they? Slightly smaller. And this Desert X, must say, does look nice. Now here they've given the Desert X 5 stars, they've given the KTM 4, and they've given the Yamaha 3. But then when you look at the prices, there's massive differences. So the Yamaha is just under 11 grand. The Desert X Rally is nearly 19. That's a big chunk of cash difference, isn't it? So you'd expect it to be better. Yeah, 19 grand for the Ducati. That's a lot of money, isn't it? But I suppose it's a Ducati, isn't it? Right, the last paper, and then we're on to Parish Notices. Right, 4 stories here to pick out. First one, world record 2-up tour. Yeah, this is absolutely nuts. Check this out. Couple cover 46,705 miles in 589 days. Oh, I feel my shoulder twitching at the thought of that. It says here, Lavi Scholl and Ollie Gamblin have set a new Guinness World Record, becoming the youngest pair to circumnavigate the world on a motorcycle. 2-up, aged 33 and 35 years old respectively. Quite surprised actually, that seems quite old for the youngest people to do something, isn't it? So there's a record here up for grabs if you're in your 20s and you're into riding 2-up. The couple rode a Suzuki V-Strom 1050 XT with Ollie taking the reins and Lavi riding pillion. They visited 39 countries on 5 continents, covering 46,705 miles in 589 days. That is a ride out, isn't it? Confronted by the impassable Darien Gap, the adventurers air freighted their Suzuki into North America, where they continued riding all the way up to Canada, but not before getting hitched in Las Vegas. Oh, so yeah, what a great story, and yeah, top effort by those two. I've got a vague feeling they might be at the ABR Festival at the weekend, so look out for these two if they are, and congratulations to them anyway, either way, on getting married and for getting the world record. Amazing effort. It's somebody that rides 2-up quite often. I know that, you know, it does add a whole new dimension. If you're going around the world with some off-roading as well, that's quite something, isn't it? Right, talking of nutters, here's another one. Get your skates on. Stunt rider aims for speed record dragged behind a motorcycle. Dragged behind a motorcycle, speed record. What's that all about? Well, I'll tell you. It says here, Kawasaki UK have teamed up with stunt rider Johnny Davis to try and break the Guinness World Record for fastest speed being dragged behind a motorcycle. Call me old-fashioned, but this is not a record I particularly want to beat. The record currently belongs to stunting legend Gary Rothwell, who achieved 156.3 miles an hour from the back of a Suzuki Hayabusa on April 18, 1999. So that is a record that has stood for a while, isn't it? Davis, also known as JD Stunts, is to achieve at least 160 miles an hour, or aims to achieve 160 miles an hour on the day. The record bid will take place later this summer, with the bike modified to include a second throttle at the rear to allow for acceleration while skiing off the back. Well, so he's actually going to be riding the bike and he's going to get off the back while the bike rides itself. Surely not. This is crazy. Davis will then have to jump back onto the rear of the bike while slowing down before reaching the end of the runway. Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. Now, this is proper nutter stuff, isn't it? Now, that is something to see, isn't it? But it sounds ridiculously dangerous to me. But wow, the things that some people come up with, eh? So let's hope that goes all right. That sounds like it's got danger and chaos written all over it. But can you imagine 160 miles an hour on a bike anyway is flipping fast, isn't it? On a pair of skis behind one that's got no rider, absolute lunacy. Love it. Gotta love the Brits. All right, that other letter about the TT, similar sort of thing. This is from Brian Silk. He said, so we need to know in detail if the third reserve goalkeeper for England's Euro squad has a broken toenail, but the greatest TT rider of all time tops his uncle's unbeatable record of Isle of Man wins and it's all over the news. No, not a mention apart from the specialist press. Michael is up there with the best. Is it not time this was recognised? Perhaps a knighthood for services to sport? As Buddy once sang, that'll be the day. Now, I'm with you, Brian, although, as I said, sadly I missed most of the TT. I've been out and about. But what a cracker it was. New lap record as well for Michael Dunlop. I mean, the guy, a legend and not a mention. This is always the way, isn't it, with motorcycling here in the UK? Yeah, he needs to be recognised somehow. At least the specialist press mention it, and I'm sure maybe he'll get some awards from the specialist press. Let's hope so anyway. He can have the TMF award for Best Rider of the Year. How about that? That's got to be worth absolutely nothing. All right, next up. Final story, 4 on 2 Parish Notices. New World Order, the super sport class is back and there's a naked bike muscling in. So these are the bikes that are a little bit more hairy than those kind of softer sports bikes we were talking about just now. So it's the Honda CBR 600RR, the Ducati Panigale V2, the Kawasaki ZX-6R, and weirdly, they've mixed into the mix the Triumph Street Triple 765 RS, a bike of which I'm a massive fan. Used to own a Street Triple, love them, kind of miss it. One day I might have another one in the garage, you never know. And also I had a Panigale 899, which is the precursor to the V2, or the one before that, if you see what I mean. Lovely bike, as I say, but again, devilishly uncomfortable. Completely focused for the track, these sort of bikes, really. Although arguably not the Street Triple, of course, although you can take it on track. And indeed, I did take mine on track. Anyway, I'll waffle on. Let's see what they say. We've never really thought of Triumph Street Triple as a supersport bike before. From its 2006 inception, it was always the tamer, more real-world take on the Daytona 675 race rep, but not anymore. The latest Street Triple 765 RS has evolved into a machine the full-on Daytona could have been if Triumph has stuck with it, and it's much more relevant for today's roads and riders thanks to its roomy, upright riding position and grunty 3-cylinder engine. I could not agree more. And in fact, out of all these bikes, I know which one I prefer, and it would be the Street Triple. Let's see what the verdict is, and this is from Nevesy. He says, the Triumph serves to satisfy any headbanger's lust for speed with sublime handling and savage braking power to match. It goes like a racer, but it's easy to live with thanks to a roomy riding position. Lots of real-world grunt, useful rider aids, and a glorious 3-cylinder soundtrack. It does sound amazing. Best of all, it's a hell of a lot of bike for the money, but for those for whom only a race rep will do, the Panigale V2 is quite simply the most poised, elegant, luxurious way to give yourself a super sport nosebleed. So yeah, these have all got 4 stars out of 5. Once again, difficult to split between them, but Nevesy is saying Street Triple, then the Panigale. Well, I share your enthusiasm, Nevesy. They are both absolutely excellent bikes, and yeah, I loved owning both of them, or variants of. And I think the Street Triple might be in my future at some point. I don't know, do miss that bike. Lovely looking thing. I actually like just the R as much as the RS for road riding. But anyway, that's just me. Alrighty, that's that then. So a few things I want to draw your attention to in Parish Notices. First off, some sad news. We talked earlier about Dave Myers dying. Well, another bit of sad news I heard this week was that Matt Durrans, South African reporter, unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks ago after a fight with cancer, which I'm absolutely gutted about. I knew Matt slightly. We spoke a few times via WhatsApp. We exchanged some mails. I was even on his programme once, the bike show in South Africa. A really, really lovely guy, and a real shock to see that he's passed away before his time. So yeah, respect to Matt, and yeah, really sorry to hear that. His friends and family, I'm thinking of you, mate. Right, okay, next on, something a little bit more happy. First off, I said I was out and about a bit last week. I've been touring Wales with the missus, as well as Loomies. And basically, it was a great tour. Had a really good time with some friends. There will be one, maybe two videos of that tour coming, although I didn't film the whole thing. But I did meet an awful lot of other bikers, as you would in Wales in the summer, and lots of people came and said hello. So just want to say thank you for saying hello. Hello back to you. Lovely to meet you all. So yeah, what a great time we had in Wales. When the sun is out in Wales, it cannot be beaten as a biking destination. It is brilliant. It always delivers. Oh, I want to say no bike news coming in July for logistical reasons. There may be one. I don't know yet. But at the moment, looking at my schedule and how things are moving around, it's going to be quite difficult for me to film one that's going to be topical. So, so probably no bike news in July. So when everybody starts saying, oh, where's bike news? I'll just refer you back to this bit of this video, okay? Okay, highlights coming soon then between now and the next bike news in a couple of months. I've got my first ride review of the Tiger 900 Rally. There's a lot coming up. I've got the BMW F900 GS. I pose the question, is it a better option than the 1300? A bike that's been requested so much, the CF Moto 800 MT, big adventure bike, great value for money. My first ride review of that's coming up. The Royal Enfield Shotgun, I'm a bit late to the party on that one, but that's coming too. The MT09 SP, I've got that in the diary already. It's not actually around yet, but I've got an early grab on that from Yamaha, so thanks to those guys. That'll be coming up hopefully soon. The first ride of the Triumph Daytona that I've got at the moment that I mentioned earlier. KTM Duke 390, new version of that. That's a bike that I've always loved, and I think when I last rode one, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, that video that I made, the long-term living with review of the 390, I think that's my second most viewed video of all time. So looking forward to publishing that one. Probably a biker scram mixed in there. Got a date in the diary for that. The Royal Enfield Himalayan, stuff in the can already on that, and some DIY stuff on my GS actually, because I've kind of made the decision that my 2013 R1200 GS is near peak GS. I think the 1250 is probably the peak, but there's nothing wrong with my 1200. I'm keeping it. I've decided to tart it up a little bit, with little bits that showing some signs of age and wear. I'm doing something about, so I'm making a video on all the little bits of DIY I'm doing on that, and whenever I get in the garage, well, it doesn't always go smoothly, so look out for that video or videos coming soon, and there'll be lots more besides. All right, that's it for now. I'm recording this on Saturday. As I speak, it's chucking it down with rain. And of course, this gets published on Wednesday. Wednesday evening, I should be off to the ABR Festival to set myself up because Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday is the best bike meet of the year as far as I'm concerned. Lots of people have said that they're going along. If you're going along and you see me and Mrs. Fly wandering around aimlessly, do come and say hello. It'd be great to meet you, have a selfie, all that sort of thing. And don't forget, if you are going to the show, I'm going to be doing a couple of sessions. There'll be a Q&A session, I think on the Friday, and then on the Saturday, I'll be doing the now infamous pub quiz with my mate Richie Vida. Well worth coming to. They both clash with other things that are on paper sound better, but come to my stuff. It'll be much better. Anyway, look forward to seeing you then. All right, until next time, this has been the Mr. and Fly. Cheerio.